Yeah, I really think this is going to be a great show. It's going to be awesome. I'm really super confident about it. Just as confident as Zeus, if he were real. Oh, welcome to the Mr. Jurgensen Show, and I would like to welcome all of you to the 2010-2011 school year. I am super excited to get started, and I'm sure you are too. And this is the second season of the Mr. Jurgensen Show. They've let us continue making this show and just go beyond the boundaries that we went last year. I have 3 new guests that are going to be joining us frequently on the Mr. Jurgensen Show. And the first one I would like to introduce is Zoran. He is, how can I say it? He's an alien. He stayed with me for about a month, him and his family, just basically studying history. So I was teaching them all summer. And now, he retains a lot of information, just a little bit better than what we do, and he's just a genius. And here he is. I would like to introduce Zoran.
I love cheese!
Oh, Zoran, we know you like cheese. You ate most of my milk products while you were here. Went broke, actually. Could you actually tell the kids how you're going to be helping them learn history this year?
Sorry about that, Mr. Jurgensen. I won't happen again, I promise. My job here is to teach or help the students of your class understand history from an alien's perspective. My perspective is very different from yours, and hopefully will create critical thinking. And possibly you will help me understand human history a little bit better. Thank you. And I can't wait to work with all of you.
Thank you, Zoran. I look forward to working with you as well, my friend. Next up on our new guest list is Mr. Historia. This gentleman is basically a person that fights evil to preserve history, all history, historical artifacts, historical books, anything dealing with history. He seeks to protect it, and he seeks to understand and try and find truth in history. Here is a little clip about Mr. Historia. That Mr. Hysteria, he's a pretty interesting fellow. Don't you agree? Now, students, I would like you to follow along on a few of Mr. Historia's adventures. What I want you to do is identify whether Mr. Historia is using skills of a historian, an archaeologist, or a geographer. You're going to follow him through a couple different scenarios. Actually, he's in the field working, and I want you to identify one of these 3 correctly. After the reading in your book, you should be able to, but let's test your knowledge. Here's Mr. Historia.
Mr. Hysteria here. I'm in Rome, Italy, and I have just uncovered something awesome from underneath the ground. It is a wooden sword. Now, remember, I'm in Rome, Italy, in the backyard of a villa. This is a Roman sword. A wooden sword. Now, this would have been used to train gladiators and Roman soldiers. It would have been significantly heavier than the metal sword, the gladius. Now, they would have used this for training, this wooden sword for training so that they wouldn't hurt other soldiers. And also, it was much heavier so that when they went into battle, the actual sword would have been able to move quicker and much more efficiently. Now, I've just uncovered this sword, this gladiator.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should have had your first answer written down, and the answer is archaeologist. An archaeologist uncovers artifacts and uses those artifacts to interpret history. They would also examine historical documents to prove the validity of those artifacts. Let's go on to the next scenario. Mr. Historia here with another question for you. I am in an archive. If you do not know what an archive is, it is a place, a building where people preserve and keep historical documents and artifacts. Most people go to archives to study the historical documents there, write books. This is the place where you get your hands on actual books. You go to the place, you do your research through old, musty books, which is awesome. It's fun. It's like finding treasure. Nothing like just getting on the internet and going through documents that are incomplete or could have been tampered with. This is the real thing. I just came from the archive and I found the executive journal of the first territorial governor of Iowa. There's letters in here of his anti-slavery thought. There are letters in here describing his conflict, the conflict between the territory of Iowa and Missouri in 1839, and how Robert Lucas, the first territorial governor of Iowa, resolved that conflict. It's called the Honey War. Okay, it is a major conflict that should be studied, and this book has all of his letters that he wrote as governor. It is just awesome. It is a treasure to find, and I am so glad that I found it. Very cool, Mr. Historia. You now have 5 seconds, students, to identify his skill or the type of person he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drum roll, please. Mr. Historia was a historian in that skit. He was in an archive, doing the dirty work of a historian, going through actual books and primary sources. Now, remember, primary sources are documents that are from the period in which you're studying. So let's say I was studying the Revolutionary War, and maybe I uncovered a letter written by George Washington to Thomas Jefferson. That would be a primary source. Now, a book written about the Revolutionary War by a person that lives today, that is not a primary source. That is a secondary source. Now, when you're writing essays or research papers or doing research, it's more beneficial for you to find more primary sources. That means you have to go outside the internet, go to libraries, go to archives, do what Mr. Historia does, and uncover the truth, uncover gems of history. Let's go on to the next scenario. Hello, Mr. Historia here. I have just uncovered this map of Crawford County, Iowa, the county that Mr. Jurgensen is from. He asked me to do some research for him. Now, I'm using this map to study the topography of historic farms, where they were located, and that way it'll make it more beneficial for my study, this farm survey. When I go to the farm, I survey the landscape, the historic buildings, and the layout of the farm. Now, this is going to help us learn about how immigrants, in this case in Crawford County, how German immigrants would have settled the land, the layout of the buildings, how they were organized, and how they lived. Now, I'm using this map. Thank you, Mr. Historia. What do you think, kids? Yes, you're right. He is a geographer. He uses maps to study. I look forward to working with all of you this year. Thank you for watching. Mr. Jurgensen signing off.